Hey everyone, how you doing today? We are obviously doing our expert series on one rental at a time. And one of the things that I appreciate about Matt, the mortgage guy, is he's actually in an enviable position, right? And if you have a broker in your state that you work with, treat them well. Because what I have found over the last 20 years is if you reach out to a mortgage broker, they're going to tell you what's going on in the mortgage market. And if you listen, I mean, really listen, you could figure out what could be a leading indicator, right? Is are banks getting looser? Are banks getting tighter? Are there rules and regulations that are being, added to investment loans and not owner ocs? Is, the adjustable rate mortgage coming back, or is everybody still fixed? There are so many little indicators you can get from listening to an experienced mortgage broker. So that's what we're going to talk about today with Matt, the mortgage guy. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, Mike. How you doing?
I'm doing well. So I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to shut up and listen. So what have
All
you
right.
been seeing in the mortgage market the last 30 days or so? Is it getting tighter or looser? What kind of variables are changing in your world? Because again, I think you're the kind of that, I don't know, canary in the coal mine, if you will. They kind of tell us what's going on. So what are you seeing?
Right. Yeah, I agree with you where, the regulation on mortgage and how easy it is to acquire financing is going to affect the real estate market because I don't know what the percentages are, but probably 90% of homes that are purchased are financed in some sort of way, right? So first and foremost, I guess everybody, if they haven't heard or seen the changes that Fannie and Freddie made with investment loans, second homes, like that was a big, drastic, like release a letter and all of a sudden it's harder to get investment property loans. It's more expensive. The rates are higher. And that was like literally like, that's what I told people too, is it's interesting to see there doesn't have to be any warning and there's no meeting or surveys that go out. Like, do you guys think this would be great? Like it's Fannie and Freddie says, listen, we've decided internally, we're only going to do up to 7% of this type of loan. And so, you're going to make it more expensive or you're going to do whatever you need to do on the lender side to, quell demand for this product. And so that was interesting. What was that? Was that like March 8th or something?
Yeah, it was this month. Yeah, it was this month.
Yeah. And so, that's interesting to see. What I've seen a lot of lately too, and it hasn't been talked about enough, I think I want to do something on my channel to talk about it, is self-employed loans. Like they got really strict. And then I feel like the actions of the lenders isn't matching what they're saying. They're all saying like, hey, listen, we're going to remove overlays. We're going to, unrestrict like we did for COVID, since we feel like we're coming out, we're getting vaccinated and stuff. But then when I submit self-employed loans to these different lenders, they are just like fine tooth comb. And they're using formulas where it's like, they can look at income three different ways. They can average it over 1920 and year to date. They can look at just year to date, or they could look, and they basically take three different scenarios and then say, we're going to use the worst case. And there's so many times where I'm like, listen, like this person's been back to work full-time, full pay since this date. Like, and we know that it was a 4-month gap because of COVID, or we know it's explainable what happened to this business and why that happened. So why are we still punishing them by saying, hey, we're going to, use your average? Or if, whatever the case may be, I've just seen it be more strict on the stuff that I'm actually submitting than the words that are coming out of the mouths of the lenders that are just like, all right, bring your self-employed stuff back. There's no overlays. There's no additional costs. Because some of the lenders just straight up just said, we're going to add loan level price adjustments, which means those loans are more expensive. And like, it's not a protected class. So you can't scream discrimination. Like you're charging more for self-employed borrowers. Cause I thought that at first. I'm like, all my friends are friggin' entrepreneurs and self-employed. Like that's wrong. That's discrimination. And then someone's like, listen, Matt, that's not a protected class. So they can charge more. And some lenders got creative where they didn't charge more, but they said, hey, if you're W-2 only and only own your primary residence, you get a discount on your mortgage. And so with this much demand, I think what I'm seeing, Mike, is that lenders are kind of picking and choosing what they want. Because they can.
Well, they got the money, right?
Like, right. Yeah. And it's just like, hey, if we've got plenty of loans coming in, let's just say we want this credit score or higher. We want W-2 borrowers, and they're not completely not taking the other stuff. But if they offer a discount, then it's, it's a little bit of cherry picking. And so, it's funny you brought this up. I've thought about it on my run this morning, that like, that's something that lenders could do, and it would almost be justified right now, is tighten lending standards, because, then you kind of, I've had all these thoughts, because God, I can't get away from YouTube videos to talk about a housing crash, right? Like, they're just, anybody with a freaking microphone and a freaking camera can make one. And, I'm trying to be like open-minded and just look at like what could what could go on. And I think to myself, like the problem, and like when anyone points to 2008 and people who are, intelligent have to remind them like all the differences, like it was just arms wide open. Anybody with any credit score, with any down payment, could get a loan. And that was the problem. And now we're in a place where it's way stricter. Like all the loans that are being written, huge percentage of them, 30-year fixed, no prepayment penalties, just vanilla stuff with low risk. I wonder if there's something coming up where they get a little bit tighter. I mean, it would almost be justified.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing it. I'm not. And I mean, to be clear too, I'm not seeing that.
Yeah.
But I would understand it if it happened. And what I think you would see is it would cause a needed correction in the market. And I don't mean a correction like how home prices fall off a cliff, 20%, but somebody who's really stretching themselves to buy something at 450 just can no longer buy it. If they change the debt to income ratios, where they say, listen, we're not going to allow you to go up to 50 or 45. It's going to have to be 43.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess that's a pretty long-winded answer. And it's a little mix of like what I'm seeing versus what like could happen in the future.
Yeah, when you look at the lending standards of today, they're not even, I mean, anybody who's calling a crash today just doesn't know history, doesn't know what's going on. Could there be an event in the future? Sure, but it's years away, right? Real estate just simply doesn't move that fast. And I guess the other thing, it's obvious, per the March 8th or whenever that was, investment loans, or they're going to temper that a little bit, at least Fannie Mae is. I'm curious on owner ocs, because I think what's coming, right? There's been this long talked about rumored $15,000 tax credit for first-time buyers. I still think it's out there. I still think it would be horribly mistimed if it came out, in the next couple of months. But, I wonder if they're going to do some kind of incentive for owner occ, because I think what's going to happen, left to its natural devices, is the 30-year mortgage is going to start rising slowly over time. And I think that's a good sign. The economy's getting better. We're opening up. I think interest rates shouldn't be naturally this low, but it wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me at all if the powers that be in our current administration say, you know what, we want to give a discount for owner occupant loans. Again, I never have known this, right? I know about an 8K credit. I know about a proposal for 15K. But, it wouldn't shock me if they say, you know what, we want to give people who make less than 100 grand, because everything is income capped these days. Anybody who makes less than 100 grand, we're going to buy down your mortgage 0.5%, and just magically happens. I mean, we could see crazy things like that.
Yeah, no. And that's the thing too, is like, even though me and you would not qualify for something like that, I see the benefit of it. And I see, like, if we're in this K-shaped recovery where some people are doing, bad post COVID and some people are doing great. Like, if it's easier for somebody to get their first house than it is for somebody who has their sixth to get their seventh. Yeah. Okay. I get it. Right. Yeah. I'm not mad at that. Yeah, I think that that's something that for sure, this administration, could look at. It would be much better than just a $15,000 gift, which is going to drive up entry-level prices like mad and just be horrendous for the market.
Let's be very clear. They announce it. Prices will adjust immediately, and it won't be down. The prices will go up. Oh my God, that would be cool. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. What's interesting too? I was going to chat about you with this, is even though rates have gone up, and sure, it's only 0.5% or whatnot. I have the ability to just talk to buyers every single day. So I feel like I kind of can get some buyer sentiment from conversations. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, man, people are just still super optimistic. See, people are still out there buying. It's not deterring them in the least. Then I hear this morning that the latest consumer confidence poll is out, and it's like a 13-month high. Consumers are just
charts.
like as confident as ever, right?
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, on my daily financial news, I'm telling you, we are transitioning from dark to light, and we are going to see some amazing numbers. And again, the other beauty of doing this for 20 years is I can tell you with certainty, every time rates kind of take that little pivot, like 2018 or other years, when they suddenly go up, what actually happens is it pulls forward demand. That buyer who was sitting on the sidelines telling themselves rates are low, rates are low, rates are low, suddenly they're up, like, holy cow, I better move now. So it is going to be a wild summer.
I think we're in the midst of that surge right now.
Oh,
I mean,
no
I'm literally
question.
hearing it in the voice of my buyers that are, offering $1 million on a property that's listed at 880, and they're just like, I want to get before rates go up and before I'm kind of priced out, like I can do it. It's a little bit of a stretch from what I was originally planning on spending, but I'm gonna go out there and offer $1 million. And there's a little bit of almost like desperation.
Yeah, fear of
in
missing
some
out,
of the
FOMO.
right. And justified or not, it's just what I'm hearing and seeing. And so that 0.5 point tick up in interest rate will do that. And I mean, I feel for people too, because I try to be a calming voice, but when it's like somebody who's been pre-approved and they've looked at, X price point at 2.8, and then I talk to them a few weeks later, it's like, okay, now we're 3.05 and you might have to pay 40,000 more. I can see where they can start to think to themselves, holy crap, like I've got to act now because rates are going up, prices are going up. Like I can't afford it. Another jump up in rate and price. And so, the never ending hope. Another interesting stat that I was looking at too was, I'm like, why we're like 30% down, inventory is 30% down. There's no homes. There's 1 million homes. We need like 3.7 to be anywhere near balanced.
Exactly.
The average homeowner is staying in their house 10.5 years now. I don't know if there's a way to solve that, right? It's like they used to move every 3 to 5 years. Now they're in their house for 10.5.
Yeah, here's the problem, right? This is something nobody's talking about, and I can see it coming. We've over the last 20 years, the move up buyer has benefited from rates falling, right? I'm going to get a bigger home, another 100 grand, but my rate's down 0.75 of a point. So their payment shock isn't really that much in the scheme of things, right? But now you go into a 100K home and your rate goes up 0.75 the other way. You want to talk about payment shock? Holy cow. Right? That is going to make the next 5 years, probably let's start in 2022. The move up buyer is going to stay a lot longer. It's going to get worse. So in the end, this has been a great conversation. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it's like, it's crazy because it's all these factors coming together. It's not one thing, but it's like you said, people are staying longer. It's more expensive for them to move up. And then you've got the 34 to 36-year-old demographic that's growing. So more demand is coming. Like this snowball is getting bigger.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. This is exactly what I thought we would do today. Having a mortgage broker on your team is important. We're going to actually talk about that in episode number 2. Thanks, buddy.